Welcome back to the Swing'it With Winget podcast. We're going to talk briefly about how to get in a position and ultimately be able to buy your own investment property. Come swing it with Winget. I think the first thing that I always ask people is, what tools do you have to work from or work with? What are the resources that you're bringing to the table? Like, what is at your disposal? So, and the more tools, the more education, the more background, the more partners or relationships or family or people that have money or that believe in you or have credit. So the main things that are pretty huge when it comes to buying a vacation home or an investment property to flip, to remodel and flip, or buying a long-term rental that you want to manage, and that can even mean living upstairs and renting the basement, is how's your credit? Okay, we've talked briefly about how to build credit and the importance of credit. If you don't have good credit, save your time from applying for a loan. Okay, we'll talk more about the importance of how to prepare to qualify for a mortgage. But credit's one of the most important things. So do you have good credit? Do you have any credit? Do you have, if you have good credit, how much access to cash do you have? And is it a line of credit from an affordable loan that you can pull out that's a short-term, long-term, or anything there to secure a mortgage or to put money down? So down payment, credit, your credit is key. Can you get a mortgage? Do you have qualifications? Do you have a good job? Do you have a good job history, credit, down payment? All of these things kind of lead into, can I get a mortgage for a property that I'm interested in buying? And do I want a long-term rental? Do I want a home that I want to flip? Do I want to make some quick cash? And we'll get into tax planning and strategy later, but ultimately, everyone has a different version of what investment property means to them. And that's the first thing that I challenge you to figure out is, what resources do I have? And what kind of an investment property kind of lends itself to me and my situation? You might be a college student that has a great job, and just wants to buy something small and then live on site and rent 3 units or 3 bedrooms out to some roommates, okay? Or you might even be able to co-sign on a loan with a college buddy. Or do you just want to start making money remodeling houses and flipping them, okay? So if you're a real estate agent, that's a big tool, right? Because then you have access to the MLS and you have access to knowledge and information that you can educate yourself. And the 3 things that I feel like are key in buying an investment property that you want to prepare to sell and flip and make a quick profit on. Education, okay, is the first one of the 3, okay? You've got to do your research. You got to know you got to know what your limits are and what your identified target is, okay? And you got to know the market that you're looking to buy in and your price range. And you've got to kind of have an idea of, these are the tools I have. I've got to educate myself on what's realistic, what's doable, and so on and so forth. So, if I'm trying to make a big score on a house that's going to require cash in order to secure that house, plus cash to remodel it, okay? But I'm not a handyman. I might have $200,000 that I need to buy the house. Maybe it's $150 plus $50,000 in expenses, but I'm not a handyman. Well, I got to find that and manage that and figure out how to manage somebody to do something I know nothing about, okay? So, but to find an undervalued or to buy an investment property, education, and then tools and resources. All right, the more you have, the better and more successful you're going to be. Okay, and the third is really just as important as either the first 2. You got to have your ability and your desire and willingness to strike when you see a deal. Now, how do you even know if it's a deal? Well, that's where the education comes in. That's where you know your limits and you kind of get set up for, this is what I can afford. This is what I can do. I'm going to go and try and find that if it's reasonable in this area. And then having the tools, the cash, the credit, somebody that if you don't have cash or credit, but you got the tools and the resources and knowledge, you might be able to find somebody with the second resource that you need, and that's cash, money, to either buy the home or to improve it. Now, if you don't have a lot of cash, then there's other options, right? You can borrow the money from hard money lenders. You can borrow the money from friends, family, or bring on partners and split the deal with them upon the close. And ultimately, no matter if you know everything you want and you need, and you have the resources lined up, if you can't pull the trigger and know when that deal is the deal, and it takes you time, way too much time, even a day, even 4 or 5 hours, then you're not going to get the deal. It's that simple. Someone else like me is going to come in, has the first two, and also has the ability to strike on that deal right then and there. So ultimately, those are the three things that separate this most successful investment buying or home flipping people or investors from just an average or wannabe, essentially, that we're trying to help you come across. Okay, so here's some ideas on how to get started in the buying a foreclosure or a fix and flip or a short sell or an investment property to either hold on to long term or short term. First thing is, let's say I have good credit. Let's say I have a good job. Let's say I'm going to go get pre-approved for a mortgage, so I know what my price point is and what the payment would be and how that would work. Or if I'm going to buy something that's not long-term that I want to flip, we got to be careful on the mortgage, because these are typically owner-occupied mortgages that the lenders expect you to live in for at least a year, and so they make you sign an occupancy document at closing. So if let me give you an example of one of the first flips that I did on my own, no partners, after a while being out of the business and wanting to reemerge after a few years. So first thing I did is I knew I had, let's say, $50,000, okay? And, I knew that's not going to be enough to buy the house that I wanted. And in the range, in the area that I wanted was, let's say, $200,000, okay? I went and actually started to call hard money lenders and started to talk to investors and real estate agents that kind of network in this space. And I found a hard money lender, unlike the ones that I've used in the past, that would lend 95% of whatever the purchase price of the house I was looking to buy. And the reason that was important is because I only had $50,000, and this is a hypothetical, give or take. I found a house for $200,000. 20% down or 30% on a normal hard money lender would be about $60,000. Well, that would take all my money that I needed for repairs and improvements. So I found a guy. The rate was a little bit higher, a couple of points for closing costs, and I think the rate was like 12 to 14%. It was a 6-month loan that I had to remodel the house and get it sold. So there's a little bit of a risk there and extra costs if I couldn't get it done in that time period. And so I had $50,000. I had the knowledge and experience, not to do the work myself per se, but to oversee others, because I had done it before. Now, it would have been a lot cheaper and a lot faster if I didn't have a job and I had the skill set to do these things on my own. Okay, do the demo, do the paint, do the baseboards and the carpentry work, and do tile and do sheetrock and do all the things that you need to, electrical work and plumbing work and hanging and installing cabinets and countertops and things like that. So roofing, decking and landscaping. These are all major issues that really aren't that hard individually, but they're trades that you got to line up on any one of these home flips or investments on a short-term basis. So found a lender after a couple of days of research, 5% down on $200,000, which was $10,000. Okay. It was like 1,600 square feet. Purchase price was actually about $150,000. Okay. So, but hypothetically, we're going to use $200,000. So $10,000 down. And then I spent the next 2 months remodeling that house. I had to find all these contractors and line up the schedule. And I had to do it quickly because the burn rate was like 12 to 14% interest only. Okay. And I had 6 months to not only get it done, closed, remodeled, and done and back on the market. And I wanted to give myself about 3 months time to get it marketed, under contract, through inspections. And, you hope that it doesn't fall out of contract. So anyway, $200,000, I put $10,000 down. I put about $30,000 to $40,000 in improvements. And I ended up selling that house for about $300,000. Okay. So what was my net? You hear all the time, this is how much profit I made. I bought it for $200,000, put $50,000 into it, sold it for $300,000. I made $50,000. Well, that's just not the case. That's not the way it works. Okay. Most sellers have realtors. Now, if you're a realtor or you want to become a realtor, that's one of those huge tools that can help you get access to the MLS and help you learn how to navigate those tools so you can vet properties. But more importantly, you get paid when you buy a home, that they're paying commissions, and you save money when you go to sell that house. So I happen to be a realtor. When I put the home up for sale for $300,000, I normally would have paid a realtor 3% to list that, even on a discount at 2%. That's $6,000 to $9,000. That now, even though it's a lot of time to do those things, I'm saving that money. Okay, and then I have to, if I'm wanting to move the property, I'm going to be willing to pay another realtor 2 to 3%. Okay, depending on the market. So that's a hard cost. Let's say $9,000 to the agent that brings the buyer. And then I've got my own closing costs. Okay, I've got points and interest that is accrued. If it's a 4-month flip from the time we buy it to the time we remodel it and then sell it and close on it with the new buyer, on $200,000, 1% a month, which is 12% annually, I mean, that's $2,000 a month. Okay, so 4 months times $2,000 is $8,000. Plus the buyer's commission, that's $9,000. That's $17,000, and then I'm going to have title insurance and a few closing costs depending on what state you're in. There's transfer taxes and all kinds of things depending on the state. Utah's actually pretty good when it comes to this. So I was about $20,000 to sell that house. So $300,000 minus 20, right? I now made $30,000, so I was into it $250,000. So anyway, there's costs associated to any home that you sell, and it's not. I'm into it $250,000. I sold it for $3,000. I made $50,000. You see that all over the place. It's just not the case. So anyway, that's a good example of how to get yourself in a position to buy an investment property, whether long-term, short-term, or what have you. We can drive into this in more detail in other episodes, but this is one example that I hope helped. So thank you, and we'll see you around next episode. Over and out. Today's podcast was brought to you by Utah's Best Vacation Rentals. Whether you're looking for a 3-bedroom townhome or a mansion with an indoor pool, Utah's Best has a vacation home for every budget and occasion. To book your next incredible Utah vacation, go to utahsbestvacationrentals.com. Book direct and save.